Hey guys, I started using macOS a few years ago, around 2 years ago, and it's been good. I kind of really like it, but I've had a few issues along the way, and I've also come across a few tools that fix these issues for me. It's more like a quality of life improvement that I needed from Apple, but I got from some other tools instead. So, just wanted to share with you guys, and I really hope you guys find it useful. And just a quick note, if you find it useful or if you like it, please consider supporting me by liking, sharing, or subscribing. That would mean a lot to me. The first and my most favorite tool on the list is called Alt-Tab. This is an amazing tool that has changed the way I use macOS. Not exactly, but it has brought a lot of quality of life improvement for me specifically. So I switch a lot of tabs due to what kind of work I do, and this is very helpful actually. So what this tool does, it lets you switch between windows, and it lets you do it in a better way than what macOS by default provides. By default, macOS provides this window switcher, more like application switcher. It's kind of, it has its own issues actually. So if you, so I'm currently in Safari and I'm trying to switch to Finder. It doesn't really switch. Why? Because Finder windows are minimized. I don't know why it shouldn't come up if it is minimized. Like, I don't understand the logic, but that's what Apple did. I hope they fix that. To me, it seems like something that they should fix. I don't know if anybody finds it useful. If anybody finds it useful, please tell me down in the comment section below. So anyways, I'm going to introduce you to this tool, Alt-Tab, and I've already installed it and I haven't configured anything more to this. I'll just show you how it looks like. So if you use Option and Tab, that's what the default setting is. You can see like it gives you a Windows 10/Windows 11 like window switching experience, or if you use Linux, it'll give you something like what it does in KDE. And I think this is a lot better. Like it gives you control over like which exact window you want to switch to, because you are mostly not going to switch to an application. You're going to switch to a window of an application that you're using, and this makes much more sense. And you can do some actions here that also I find it useful. So yeah, this is a rule. It's simple. It does this, and it just made my life a lot easier when I was using Mac. If you've ever had a MacBook with a fan and is running hot, but the fan is not running well, or the fan is not running at its full speed, even though your laptop is basically a frying pan, this is a tool that will be very much useful for you. And especially, I think this will be useful for people with Intel chips, because this is available for both Intel and Apple Silicon. So I think Intel chips heat a lot more. Have it installed. I don't really need it now, because if you see this, we don't really need it for the newer Apple Silicon, but sometimes we will need it when you're running a lot of things, like when you're doing development. I still need it sometimes, but not so often. So currently, like you can see, the fan speed is not even running. This is a minimum and this is a maximum. So if this is automatic and it doesn't run at all, so if I go for full blast, you will see slowly that the fan speed is increasing. Yeah, it goes into full speed, and this can really help bring down that temperature for your laptop. So yeah, this is something that's very useful when it really needs to be there. And I hope you found it useful, and if you want to support the project, you can also do that. The next tool that I want to talk about is linear mouse. If you guys have ever used an external mouse with MacBook, you might have already faced a couple of issues, especially with this thing, the scrolling direction. And it's a bit of a pain when you want to use, like when you sometimes interchange between the mouse as well as the trackpad. The MacBooks have amazing trackpads. I'm not saying it doesn't, but sometimes I just connect my external monitor, and I also have my you know external mouse and keyboard connected sometimes, and I find that some things are a little annoying. I'll show you an example. So if you go to the settings here, and if you choose like, I really don't want natural scrolling for my mouse, okay, but if I disable this, and if I go to trackpad settings, and if I check the scroll and zoom options, this will also be disabled. And this is something that's pretty annoying. And if you enable it here, and if you go back, you will see that it's enabled here. I don't really understand why it's even a separate setting if it doesn't really change anything separately. So this tool that I have, it's called linear mouse. If you go into its settings, I already have it installed. You can just download and install it straightforward. And if you go here, you will see like scrolling. I've already set the scrolling direction to be reverse. So reverse means, what I actually want when I connect an external mouse is that when I'm using my mouse, I need to have natural scrolling disabled, and when I use my trackpad, I want to have natural scrolling enabled. And I don't know if this is clear, but I think it really depends on the kind of user you are. Like, some people kind of know what natural scrolling is. It's a little bit hard to explain. I think you should be able to find it out easily. So basically, by default, the setting, this won't be enabled. And so by default, what you will have is, when you connect a mouse, your trackpad and your mouse settings will have natural scrolling enabled. So it works fine with your trackpad, but when you use your mouse, it scrolls in the opposite direction that you normally expect it from. I know some people don't. Some people use natural scrolling in mouse also, but I don't do that. And most people I have seen don't even do that. So okay. So this, what it basically does, it just reverses the direction of scrolling, vertical scrolling, for just the mouse, and that helps a lot. Apart from this, actually, I use a gaming mouse. You can see here, I use a Logitech gaming mouse, and it has trigger buttons, and there are something for trigger buttons also. So I don't know if you guys know, mouses with trigger buttons, you can use it while browsing to go back and forth. Okay, so this is a normal setting. You don't need any tool to have it enabled, even on other mouse, non-Apple mouses. You don't really need it. Like, it's basically doing the same thing as this, but there are other areas in your operating system where you want it, or some apps, in some apps you might want it. For example, I have to use Xcode a lot, okay, and I'll show you what I mean. So this is something that I downloaded from GitHub. It's not my project. And suppose I'm just going between the files, and if I want to go back to the previous file, what I do is I use this button normally, okay. And if you have an external mouse, and if you don't have this linear mouse installed, if you try to press the trigger button to go back and forth, it doesn't really work. But if you have this setting enabled, let me show you. If you have this setting enabled, enable universal backward and forward, and if you try to use your trigger buttons, you can see that you can go back and forth between these files. And this is pretty cool for me. Like, I live in Xcode for my work, so this thing is so good. Like, this is so useful for me, and I highly recommend anybody who also wants to have a tool. I have used another tool also previously. It's called okay, I forgot his name. There was another tool also, but it was also open source, but it wasn't having much of a development going on. I think Linear Mouse is having an active development. So if you go to GitHub, it's an open source project, so you can support it anyways, in any ways you can. And the thing is, yeah, it's actively being developed. Not so actively, but still a lot more activity than the previous app that I was using. I forgot the app name of it, but yeah. So there you go. This is linear mouse. Helps you set the scroll direction of your mouse separately from your trackpad, and also gives you some extra functionalities regarding your mouse trigger buttons and what you want to do with it. Ignore rapid clicks, etc. So I hope you found it useful, the tools that I mentioned. And once again, if you like what you see or find it helpful, please consider supporting me by liking, sharing, or subscribing. And yeah, I will see you in the next one.